Before we dive into today's deeply emotional true story, I want to ask you for just one small favor. If you enjoy real-life stories that touch the heart, stories about love, family, sacrifice, and the quiet moments that change everything, please take a second to subscribe to my channel. Your support means more than you know. It's what allows me to keep sharing these heartfelt journeys, to give voice to stories that deserve to be heard, and to bring you powerful, meaningful content every single week. Thank you for being here. Now let's begin. That night arrived wrapped in a strange kind of calm. Not the comforting kind. Not the peaceful kind. But the type of stillness that feels heavy, like the world is holding its breath. Hours earlier, rain had fallen steadily, washing the streets clean, soaking the earth, pressing softly against rooftops and windows. Now all that remained were tiny droplets clinging to the glass, tapping gently against the kitchen window in an uneven rhythm. Top, top, top. It almost sounded like a heartbeat. The house itself felt suspended in time. No voices, no television, no movement. Just the low hum of the refrigerator and the soft echo of rain fading into memory. Mia sat alone at the wooden kitchen table. Her hands were wrapped around a ceramic cup of tea that had long since gone cold. The steam was gone. The warmth had faded. But she still held on to it as if letting go might make something inside her collapse. She wasn't drinking it. She hadn't taken a sip in a long time. She was holding it because the memory of warmth felt better than the emptiness pressing against her chest. It had been one of those days. Nothing dramatic had happened. No arguments. No bad news. No sudden disasters. And yet, her mind felt crowded, and her heart felt exhausted. Rainy nights always did this to her. They pulled thoughts out of hiding. They made emotions louder. They reminded her of things she didn't normally have time to feel. She stared at the surface of the tea, watching the faint reflection of the overhead light shimmer slightly as her hands trembled. Then, buzz. Her phone vibrated sharply against the table, slicing through the stillness. Mia flinched. Her heart jumped as she reached for it, instinctively bracing herself for whatever waited on the screen. But the moment she saw the name glowing back at her, her entire body softened. Leia. Her younger sister. Without hesitation, Mia swiped to answer. Hey Leia, she said gently, her voice changing instantly, as if something inside her had clicked into place. She sat up straighter, her spine stiffening in quiet readiness. On the other end of the line, there was silence. Then a shaky breath. Mia. Leia whispered. That single word carried more weight than an entire conversation. Her voice cracked, fragile and thin, like glass stretched too far. Can I stay with you for a while? Just until I figure some things out. Mia froze. Not because she didn't know what to say, but because she recognized that tone immediately. It was exhaustion wrapped in forced calm. Heartbreak trying desperately not to fall apart. Fear disguised as strength. All of it woven into 3 trembling sentences. Mia didn't ask questions. Not yet. She already knew this wasn't something small. Of course, she replied softly, her voice warm and steady, like a hand reaching out in the dark. Come whenever you're ready. When the call ended, Mia remained seated at the table, phone resting loosely in her hand. Her eyes drifted back toward the window. The rain had slowed even more now, leaving behind only faint streaks on the glass. A strange sensation settled in her chest, something not quite fear, not exactly worry, more like a quiet weight. Unshaped, undefined. She could already picture Leia arriving. Tired eyes. A forced smile. Hands shaking slightly as she tried to pretend everything was fine. Years had passed since they last lived together. But love doesn't measure time. And distance doesn't weaken the instinct to protect. Mia still felt that older sister pull just as strongly as she had when they were kids. Who was that? Armin's calm voice drifted in from the living room. He appeared in the doorway, a book in one hand, his glasses resting halfway down his nose. He looked exactly the way he always did in moments like this. Steady, warm, unhurried. Leia, Mia said, rubbing her temples. She wants to stay with us for a bit. Armin didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. She's always welcome here, he said simply. Mia looked at him, really looked at him. 6 years of marriage, and he still managed to surprise her. He never helped because it was expected. He helped because kindness lived naturally inside him. His reassurance should have comforted her. But instead, that quiet weight in her chest grew just a little heavier. Not suspicion. Not fear. Just something she couldn't name. Later that night, as they lay side by side in bed, the room dim except for the faint glow of a streetlight outside, Armin spoke again. Do you think she's okay? Mia stared at the ceiling. I don't know, she admitted. She didn't say much. Probably another fight with her ex. She'll be all right here, Armin said, pulling her slightly closer. You two always took care of each other. Mia nodded. They always had. But even after the lights were turned off and the house fell silent, sleep refused to come. She lay awake listening to the rain, each drop echoing softly in the darkness. Her thoughts drifted back to Leia, her vibrant, unpredictable, emotional sister. Growing up, they had shared everything: clothes, secrets, dreams, heartbreaks, small victories, quiet fears. But time had carried them in different directions. Mia had found stability, a calm marriage, a peaceful home, a life filled with gentle routines and predictability. Leia had found storms, one after another. Mia turned her head slightly, watching Armin sleep. His face was relaxed, unaware of the quiet storm forming inside her. What would he think when he saw the version of Leia that was coming? Not the cheerful girl he remembered, but a woman carrying sadness like a shadow behind her eyes. The thought tightened Mia's chest. The next morning, Mia cleaned the guest room slowly, deliberately. She opened the curtains, letting in soft gray light. She changed the sheets, smoothed the pillows, and placed a vase of white lilies on the bedside table. Leia's favorite. She wanted the room to feel like a second chance. A place to breathe. A space gentle enough to hold a broken heart. Armin peeked in. It looks really nice. I hope so, Mia whispered. 2 days later, Leia arrived. The moment Mia saw her, her breath caught. Leia stepped out of the car slowly, wearing a beige coat that looked too big for her frame. Her shoulders were slumped. Her face was pale and tired, not just physically exhausted, but emotionally worn down. Mia rushed forward and wrapped her in a tight embrace. You're home now, she whispered. Leia's voice trembled. I missed you. Armin greeted her with a warm smile. Welcome back. Let me get your bags. Inside, the house greeted Leia with warmth. Coffee, soft lighting, quiet comfort. She smiled. But her eyes didn't shine. Something was deeply wrong.